Hello. Oh, okay, I'm on. All right, everyone, I've got some more content to bring to you, and this will entertain you while you are waiting for your lunch. So I see you, Mike Vetter. You're looking like you need to be entertained. I am bringing this directly to you, Mike, as you wait to get your lunch. So let's start talking about the health of our business. If you were in the newspaper business, would you feel like you were in a business that was extraordinarily healthy? Probably not, because newspapers are a dying breed, but the Medicare Advantage State of the Union is healthy. So let's talk about through some of the content I'm going to bring to you over the course of the next 40 minutes. First of all, we're going to talk about what does the health of Medicare Advantage look like overall? What is the state of the Medicare Advantage business, and what are the prospects for the future? Then we're going to talk about last year's AEP. Not just how did things go for you here in Western Pennsylvania, but we're going to talk about overall across the country, what happened and what we can learn from those lessons. Then we're going to talk about how did the insurance companies react? What did the insurance companies see in terms of what happened during AEP? And from there, how are they then adjusting or tailoring their benefits, their products, to be ready for consumers? And then we're going to finish up by talking about what are the Battleground Benefits for 2023. Very specifically, what are the ones that are going to make huge differences in what consumers pick or don't pick during AEP in terms of their plan selection. So let's start off talking about the health of the Medicare Advantage industry. What is it looking like? So when we talk about what does that health mean, you know, it could be any number of different things. How many overall consumers are enrolled into Medicare Advantage? What's happening with that membership? Maybe it's market penetration. What percentage of consumers are in Medicare Advantage versus original Medicare or versus Medicare Supplement? And then lastly, we're going to talk about special needs plans. Are they growing? Are they really all that special? What should your focus level be specific to those types of products? So let's take a look at overall Medicare Advantage membership. Is Medicare Advantage growing? Is it shrinking? Is it staying the same? And what does that tell us? So Kaiser Family Foundation does a bunch of really good market research. And this table is showing the overall rate of market penetration very specifically in this business. And I think what's really important to understand is that 48%, almost 1 out of 2 consumers nationally are in a Medicare Advantage product. That's a really staggering number when you figure on the fact that beyond folks that are in Medicare Advantage, you have folks that are in Medicare Supplement. You also still have a very large percentage of individuals that are enrolled into group health plans provided on a retiree basis. So Medicare Advantage is the single largest provider of health insurance benefits to consumers over the age of 65. Beyond that, the increase of consumers in those products, 50% increase in consumers in Medicare Advantage since 2016. Enormous, explosive growth in what we're seeing in the Medicare Advantage business. So let's talk about market penetration. What does that look like? Here's a graphic that shows state by state what states have the highest amount of Medicare Advantage members in relation to the overall Medicare population. And you see a ton of states in that really pretty green color. Like I call it the New York Jets green, although don't associate New York Jets with Joe Namath. I know that that's bad. But if you look at all of those states in green, every single one of them has between 50 to 60% of the consumers in Medicare Advantage. States like Pennsylvania, Ohio, North Carolina, Georgia, Texas, Florida, California, huge states, all well over 50% in terms of the market share and penetration in a Medicare Advantage. So if we talk about key states that we have lots of individuals that are here at this meeting, we're talking about states like Pennsylvania, Ohio, New York, Connecticut, North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Kentucky, Missouri, Texas. We've got individuals at this meeting from all of those states, and in every one of them, Medicare Advantage is more than 50% penetrated in terms of all the consumers and what they're choosing to buy. Special needs plans growth, I think, is also incredibly important to understand, because I know that there's many of you in this room that I've talked to about special needs plans. And whether or not that is a part of your practice, is it something that you are focused on in terms of growing it out? And I think watching the growth in special needs plans, I think additionally emphasizes what's going on with Medicare Advantage. So looking at this chart here, there you are seeing a huge upward slide in the membership in special needs plans. Now, the really dark blue, that's dual eligible plans for consumers on low income. It represents the overwhelming majority of special needs plan business. It isn't all of it, but it's a really large percentage. What's astonishing is that you've got 4.62 million members nationally in special needs plans in 2022. That number was 2.3 in 2017. 5 years ago, there were half as many consumers in special needs plans as they are now. That is the definition of explosive growth. Doubling the overall membership in special needs plans nationally over a 5-year period of time. There was 20% growth in special needs plans just last year. Think about that from a scale perspective, okay? If you're an agent and you're in the Medicare business and you're just starting out and you've got 50 members in your book of business, to have 20% growth, you got to add 10. That's not hard. When you think about the scale though, adding 20%, if I go back to show that slide, it went from 3.84 million members in special needs plans last year to 4.62 million members. That's 20% growth in a year. So ask yourself this question when you're looking at this data. Are you selling special needs plans? Are they a piece of your practice? If they're not, you may be missing out on the largest growth segment that Medicare Advantage has to offer. And you may want to really, really rethink that. So how many of you sold during AEP last year? I would think that aside from the rookies, everybody was selling last year. Let's talk about what happened nationally. Who won, who lost, and then try to understand why. So I always look at enrollment data like a vote. That if consumers really like what's happening with a particular carrier and they choose to enroll in United Healthcare, they're enrolling in Aetna, or they're enrolling in Blue Cross Blue Shield, or whichever carrier they choose to enroll in, they are voting. They are saying, yes, I like what you're bringing to the table in terms of the overall value proposition. If they're in a plan and they decide to get out, if they say, you know what, I've had this particular carrier for 3 years, I'm leaving, I'm switching, I'm going to find new coverage. That is them telling the insurance company, what you are doing is not working from a value proposition perspective. So what we're gonna look at is national membership gain and loss, and then for our local agents here, we're gonna talk about what happened in Pennsylvania and then what we can glean from that. So let's look at national Medicare Advantage membership. What was the gain, what was the loss by insurance company? So we got a really cool chart here. Lots of really cool data and bar graphs. What's really astonishing is United Healthcare was by far the #1 company in terms of gain of membership. And they were in a difficult position because they had the most membership. If you start the AEP with 7 million members, that's 7 million members who could decide they want to do something else. So they got to keep all of those folks before they start to add. And United Healthcare still gained almost 750,000 new members into their Medicare Advantage plan. Almost 750,000. Then we have a whole number of other carriers that were in the 250,000 to 300,000 range. Centene, which is WellCare. That's probably how you know it more here locally. You've got all of the Blue Cross Blue Shield plans. They kind of added them all together. So that would be Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. That would be Anthem. That would be Empire Blue Cross Blue Shield. All of the various Blue Cross plans. Kaiser lumped them together in this study. You've got CVS Health, obviously Aetna, Humana, Kaiser, and some others. Here's what's kind of interesting to me is if you look at Centene, which again, Centene is WellCare. They were second in growth nationally at 306,000 members gained. But they only started with about 1 million members. So they gained over 30%. That's a huge add. That's a really big jump to make. And a lot of the other carriers are gaining based upon their footprint, but seeing that type of large-scale growth by WellCare and Centene was really astonishing. But if we look at it, WellCare, over 25% growth all across the country. You had United, Aetna, and the various Blue Cross Blue Shield companies up 8 to 10%. Humana only grew at 5%. And I can tell you, as the carrier that has the second most Medicare Advantage membership nationally, Humana wasn't happy about it. They were not pleased. And if you look at their benefits all across the country, the aggressiveness that they have brought to the table in terms of their benefit designs is really staggering. Humana across the entire country really is positioning to have a big growth year. So if you're looking at plan designs, make sure you're not sleeping on Humana because they want to grow in a very big way moving forward. So very specific to Pennsylvania, which is most of our audience is here from the Pennsylvania market. What happened with the members? Anyone got any guesses? Who do they think grew the most? Think about it in your head. Anecdotally, think about what happened with your own book of business. So this particular data, this is individual Medicare Advantage. There's no employer group in these numbers. It's all individual MA. Regular products, special needs plans. Aetna had an unbelievable year all across the state. So this is Western Pennsylvania, Central PA, Philadelphia market. Aetna cleaned up. They grew almost 31,000 members across the entire state. The next best was Highmark. Highmark did a tremendous job in terms of what they were doing. They added almost 8,000. It was super interesting that United Healthcare, over 6,000 members gained. One of the most impressive figures, though, I thought was Independence Blue Cross Blue Shield. For those of you that sell in the Philadelphia 5-county market, they gained almost 6,000 members, and they operate in 5 counties, just 5. Philadelphia, Chester, Bucks, Delaware, Montgomery, those 5 counties, they added almost as many as United Healthcare did across the entire state. So IBC had a really strong year. And WellCare, which again, WellCare by a percentage basis, led the nation in terms of their percentage growth. WellCare gained almost 5,000 members in the state of Pennsylvania with their Medicare Advantage products. And there were 3 carriers that did not do as well in Pennsylvania. Humana, UPMC, and Cigna all had kind of a struggle, and I think that when you look at the plan designs those 3 companies brought to market for 2023, you'll see those carriers very well positioned for growth, trying to add and be at the top of the growth leaderboard for next year for Pennsylvania. But again, super big, important question, specific to Pennsylvania. If you combine Highmark, United Healthcare, Independence Blue Cross, and WellCare, combined all of their growth, Aetna still outgrew them combined. But the question is, can that continue? Can they possibly grow at the same rate when you have incredibly aggressive filings by Highmark, a lot of new plans? United Healthcare, 0 premium product, looking very good. Independence Blue Cross, lowering cost sharing across the whole 5-county market, and WellCare continuing to try to gain steam. It'll be interesting to see when we get together next year who was the growth leader, and again, by how much. So let's talk about one key fact about the growth that happened in Pennsylvania. If there is only one thing that you hear me say today, just one, this is it. The most important thing you're going to hear the entire day is on this next slide. Are you ready for it? Okay, put down your sandwich. Get focused. This next slide is the most important thing that will happen the whole day. If you look at Aetna, United, WellCare, and Cigna, those 4 companies, and down to the plan level, which of their plans grew the most? Aetna's #1 plan for growth was their D-SNP product. United Healthcare's #1 plan for growth, their D-SNP product. WellCare's #1 plan for growth, what do you think it was? The D-SNP product. And Cigna, even though they didn't have a great AEP last year in Pennsylvania, they still had one plan that grew like crazy. What type of plan was it? D-SNP. All 4 of those carriers, their #1 plan for growth was their dual special needs plan. Their #1 growth plan was dual special needs. Ask yourself this question: do you want to grow your book of business? Do you want to have more consumers saying that my agent is blank next year? If you are not working with dual special needs plans membership, your chances of growing your book are much less, because all of the growth that a lot of these companies are seeing, so much of it is coming from the dual special needs plan market. So looking at all that data is great. Data is fun. Oh, I'm looking at numbers. Hey, guess what? I got a bar graph. Bar graphs are awesome. Yay, bar graphs. All of the data is great, but you got to be able to do something with it. Like, what does the data tell you? Like, otherwise, it's just numbers, 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 bar graph, bang, falling asleep, right? What can we learn from the data? Because if you're not really trying to make a story out of what the data tells you, then it's just a lot of wasted time. So in looking at all of the membership data, talking to agents, what were the lessons that we learned? And I think the first thing, and Tim Brousseau from Deft, who did a tremendous job this morning, Tim talked about this. Event marketing is slowly coming back. So there were a number of agents that work with us, not just here in this room today, but all across the country, that prior to COVID were big educational event. You know, that was their big prospecting method. Talked with Don and Ron yesterday at our dinner, talking about event marketing for educational events. Talked to some other folks earlier today. And what we are seeing is slowly but surely, we are seeing an uptick in event marketing. And certainly what Tim is seeing from a market research perspective says to us that while last year during the AEP, we thought sales events were gonna be back and they were still a little bit down, event marketing in terms of the trends, it may have been in February, we saw 6 people in an event, where normally we saw 20. And then maybe we got to May, and we were seeing 8, where we used to see 20. And now all of a sudden we're getting to August, and we're seeing 10 to 12, where we used to see 20. By the time we get to AEP, event marketing is gonna be back. So if that's something that you participated in before, and maybe you've been staying away from it, I think what we're seeing, both anecdotally from conversations with agents, as well as that market research from Deft, tells us that sales events are back as a viable method to grow your book of business. The other thing I think that we're seeing is shopping may be really, really high, but switching was really low during the AEP. There were a lot of people that shopped, maybe not at events, maybe they weren't doing appointments, but they were talking to agents again about looking at their plans. They weren't terrified of switching their plan for fear of, oh my God, what if I get COVID? I don't want to switch my insurance. We didn't see that during this last AEP, but switching rates were still a little bit low last year. And I think part of that is that when we look at core benefits have really tightened down. There's a lot less difference company to company than we're seeing in inpatient hospitalization, maximum out of pocket, those types of benefits. But I think a lot of what we're seeing in ancillary benefits, which we'll talk about in a minute, ancillary benefits, dental, vision, hearing, over-the-counter, flex cards, utility assistance, a lot of these items, healthy food benefits, those are the ones that are really differentiating carriers and driving those decisions. And I know that I just hammered on this point earlier. I'm just gonna say it one more time in terms of what we learned. When we looked at our agents and what they did during last year's AEP, the agents who had the highest rate of growth, whose book of business grew the most, the common factor was that most, if not all of those agents, were working in the dual special needs plan area. Not exclusively, that wasn't all that they did, but agents that were working the low-income market in addition to their regular practice, those were the agents whose business grew the most. So obviously AEP last year happens. All of the agents are out, they're working their leads, they're talking to consumers. They weren't recording their phone calls yet, but they're out there working. They're utilizing Medicare Center to do their enrollments. I actually saw an agent post online, did a Medicare Center enrollment from the balcony. That was pretty cool. Like I went to check the NF Rocks hashtag and I was like, oh my God, here's an agent doing a Medicare Center enrollment from the balcony at the event. That was pretty sweet. So all of that happens and all of the data comes in. And the question is, the insurance companies look at it because they got to make decisions. Highmark looks at what they got in terms of enrollment and growth. Aetna looks at what they got. United Healthcare looks at what they got. UPMC looks at their enrollment statistics. What plans did well, which plans did not, and they got to make decisions. They got to react to position themselves for growth for this next upcoming year. So what did they do? They had to react. And I think there's three big areas in which it's pretty clear most of the insurance companies have targeted to go after for growth for 2023. First one is ancillary benefits. So I want you to think about something for a second. I want you to think about 4 to 5 years ago, okay? Dial the clock back to 2018 going into 2019. Think about what those plans looked like. You know, what were the premiums? What was the PCP copay? What were the specialist copays? What did someone have to pay on a per day basis on an inpatient hospital admission? What were they paying for labs? Were those amounts really that much different than they are now? Was there really a lot of difference 4 years ago? I would contend that there really isn't. That we don't see a ton of difference between for example, Aetna's inpatient hospital copay on their Gold HMO product. If you look at what it was in 2018, 2019, and what it is now, it's not a lot different. United Healthcare, for example, they had $0 labs 4 years ago. You know how much labs are now? They're zero. You know, you look at these copays, like what was a specialist copay 4 years ago? It wasn't $75. You know, the copays are very similar. And yet revenue coming from the federal government, in spite of the Biden administration, revenue keeps going up. It's ahead of medical trend. So if the insurance companies keep getting all of this money, there's more money coming in. Where are they putting it? They are putting it towards ancillary benefits. So again, get in the mental DeLorean, fire up the flux capacitor, get to 88 miles an hour. If you go back to 2018 or 2019, what were the dental benefits looking like? Was there over-the-counter benefits on non-dual product? No. Were there these special flex cards that it's like, you want to spend more on OTC, you want to spend more on healthy food, heck, you want to put gasoline in your car, you want to get utility assistance. Did we see those types of benefits? No. So I'll ask you a rhetorical question, and this is always loaded when you ask insurance agents. Do you think there are people at the insurance company who are pretty smart? I see you laughing, Don. I see that. That's why I said it, you know, hold it in your heart. I would tell you the people that design the benefits are really smart people. They're really smart because they have a very limited pool of money and they got to figure out what levers are we pulling to try to get the most interest and excitement and enrollment into our plans. So if we see that 4 to 5 years ago, here was the inpatient hospital copay and it's kind of stayed the same year over year. And here's our specialist copay, 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, staying the same. And the carriers are throwing dollar after dollar after dollar at ancillary benefits, at over-the-counter, at healthy food, at utility assistance. What is it you think the consumers want? They want ancillary benefits. They want choice, they want flexibility. That's what's driving enrollment. So if you're at the kitchen table and you are focused in your sales presentation on inpatient hospital this, PCP that, specialist this, labs that, you know, all of those items, Those are very homogenous across the insurance companies. There's very little difference company to company. But what the consumers want to know is, I need to get 2 of my teeth extracted and I need crowns, or I need an implant. Can I do that? Hey, I heard my sister Gladys talking at McDonald's the other day while we were having our bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit about getting healthy food delivered at her house. I would wonder why they're talking about healthy food while they're having a bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit at McDonald's. But nonetheless, I heard she's getting groceries delivered to her house. How do I make that happen? Hey, I was talking to my brother Jimmy, and Jimmy said he's got this really special card that if he wants more, Advil and different over-the-counter products, he can get it. But at the same time, if he doesn't need any of that stuff, like if he already has 17 packages of socks that he's got from his insurance company, he can get more food delivered to his house. Like, I like making choices. That's one of the big things that we're seeing with consumer behavior is consumers want to choose. They want to feel like they're empowered. Like, think about your own experience, not just with insurance products, but in any walk of life. Do you like when someone just tells you when you question something, well, that's just the way it is? Who likes that? Raise your hand if you like being told, that's just the way it is. I saw that over there. You're the one guy, so I appreciate raising your hand on that one. How many of you like to be able to choose? Raise your hand if you like to choose and not be told that it's the way it is. Consumers are the same way. Your clients like to have choice, which is why we're seeing a lot of these consumer-directed benefits on Medicare Advantage plans. So the last thing I think that we're seeing in terms of market reaction from the insurance companies are Part B give-back products. How many of you have ever sold a plan that returns some of that Part B premium to a consumer? How many of you sold them? Okay. How many of you seen the Joe Namath and JJ Walker commercials? Probably more people, right? Okay. What's one of the biggest things that Joe and JJ are talking on that commercial? Get your $140 back. You can get $160 back. I'll be honest, the way that they made stuff up in those commercials, I'm surprised they didn't say, we'll give you $500 back. And why was that a primary focus of the advertisement? Why did they talk about it? Because it made the phone ring. Now, consumers, when presented with, yes, I can get back $100 on my Part B, but here's what it does to my benefits, and maybe I don't get great dental, and maybe all of a sudden if I need lab work done, I gotta pay $30. Sometimes they choose not to do it, but consumers are responding to the Part B give back advertisement. So what are we now seeing from a lot of the health insurance companies? Highmark, big Part B premium release plan. We're seeing Humana nationally. Humana is going after that market in a big way. I honestly have seen more markets with Humana nationally with a Part B give back product where the amount is over $100 than I've seen markets where they don't have at least a $100 give back product. So clearly that's been a focus that Humana has seen. This is something consumers are interested in. We are gonna be ready. But again, these used to be gimmicks. Like, I remember the first time that I got a call from Bob O'Connor at Aetna that many of you know. And Bob called and said, hey, I'm bringing a plan to market next year that's gonna give consumers money back. I said, what? How you doing that? And he said, well, the benefits aren't great, but there may be consumers that think, I'm not gonna use any health insurance coverage, so I might as well get some of that Part B premium money coming back to me. And the first couple plans that we saw in that Part B give back segment, they were bad. I would look at them and I'd just be like, who's enrolling in this? They just weren't good products. And unless you paired it with a really interesting, unique hospital indemnity product that maybe had some outpatient coverage and maybe you threw in a little physician benefit, they really weren't good products. The Part B premium give back plans that we are seeing now, they are legit. So if that's a market segment that maybe you, like I did 4 to 5 years ago, I just kind of laughed them off and said, nah, it's not really real insurance. They are absolutely in play, and it's a big reaction that we're seeing from the health insurance companies to decide if Joe and JJ are getting the universe fired up about getting money back in their Part B, we are going to have an answer for the consumer that wants to know about that. So think about this as a key fact. It used to be we saw a lot of Medicare Advantage plans with premiums over $100. And I think Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield still has tons of members in their Security Blue Deluxe product, which I think it's got a premium into the 200s. But nationally, there's a lot of members in plans over $100 a month in premium. But there are more counties in the United States now that have MA plans with Part B givebacks than have plans with premiums over $100. So the Part B giveback product, it's real, it's here to stay because consumers are very interested. So I want to close up with something I call Battleground Benefits. Like, we're talking about consumer behavior. What are they deciding to do? Why are they deciding to do it? And the reason why I want to talk about Battleground Benefits as a concept is that I don't want you going into a gunfight with a knife. Okay? When you go to the kitchen table, when you're interacting with your consumer over the phone, I want to make sure that you're armed and prepared to win and discuss benefits that will make a difference between a consumer choosing you, choosing a particular plan that you're marketing, than not. So let's talk about those battleground benefits that are going to make a huge difference at the kitchen table or in a virtual sales environment towards making the sale. No big surprise, dental is number one. Tim talked about this, and really for the last couple years, dental has been the single biggest driver of enrollment growth. When you think about the plans that are selling in your conventional MAPD market, generally, not all the time, not for all consumers, but generally, it is your products that have the most attractive, most flexible, most easy to understand dental benefit. If you are looking at a company and they have a dental benefit and it is difficult to understand, it's going to be difficult for the consumer to utilize, they're either not going to buy it or they'll buy it, and within the first 3 months of the year when they try to use it, they're going to flip it during OEP because consumers want to have and utilize dental. But it's no longer about the allowance amount. Like, it's not just about, is it $2,000 in dental? Is it $4,000? Is it $1,500? Is it $2,730? It's not just about the allowance amount. It's about who pays first. Because there's a huge difference in having a $3,000 dental benefit that's 50-50 co-insurance, and for the consumer to get that $3,000, they've got to spend $3,000 themselves, versus a company that has a $2,000 dental benefit, and the first $2,000 of dental expenses is coming from who? It's coming from the insurance company. But again, the who pays first and ease of use is absolutely as important, if not more important, than the total amount of the benefit. So make sure you focus on how the benefit works, not what that total allowance is. Healthy food benefit is, again, something that's really emerged, not just in the D-SNP market, but across conventional MAPD, because plans that had healthy food benefits in 2022, they won big. Like, I can go market to market with areas that had healthy food benefits, and I'm highlighting the plans with the highest levels of growth. So many of those plans that had high levels of growth, what were they offering to their members? Healthy food. And it may be the same people who are going to McDonald's 3 days a week to get a bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit and a coffee. It may not make sense to you. There's a lot that doesn't make sense, because there's a lot of consumers who have never been to the gym, but God forbid you take my silver sneakers away. Don't you do it. There may be a time I go to the gym, and when I want to go to the gym, I want to have that benefit, and I don't want to pay for it. Okay? Healthy food is, again, it is the new frontier. It is equally as important in the D-SNP market as it is with conventional MAPD. So don't sleep on it. The last item are these Otc Flex Cards. And again, we talked a little bit about consumer choice and consumer direction. Consumers want choices. And these Otc Flex Cards are really the new frontier in giving consumers these types of choices. It's really important. The company that does this right, in terms of giving consumers flexibility and choice, the companies that do this right will gain and retain members. So when you're looking at your 23 plan designs, whether it's here, whether it's in Ohio, whether it's in South Carolina, whether it's in Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina, wherever it is, you need to look for consumer flexibility and choice, because it's going to be a big driver in winning and losing in terms of your membership. So I hope you guys had a great lunch today. Loved getting to spend some time sharing some thoughts with you. We've got a ton of great content still coming. I just want to tell you thank you so much. The back half of this presentation is going to be even better than the front. Thanks, guys.